It's happening. Shit's getting real. This is Sophia Musto, and I am so excited to have you here to share my stories with you because life is full of flavor. The purpose of the Zensetter podcast is storytelling, and I want to hear your story, and thank you for listening to mine. You're going to meet so many amazing friends along the way, so thanks for being here. Namaste and hairspray. Hey, and welcome back to the Zensetter podcast, episode 13. I'm so excited that you're here. Thank you so much for the messages, the reviews, the comments. This is what it's about. It's about sharing stories, and I'm happy that you can hear mine and relate to it, and we can share and grow and heal together. That's the part of healing out loud together, is when we don't feel alone, we can get so much further, and it makes me feel special that you feel safe and you share your stories with me. So thank you for that, and keep them coming. Keep those reviews coming, and just keep downloading. I'm so excited to hear that some of you are going to take the affirmations and actually record them in your own voice. You will see too how powerful that can be. I'm loving the feedback that you are enjoying that episode. And there's still so much more to come. I'm getting ready to head on a new retreat, so I'll be back to give you all the insight of that. And today I have a really special guest to introduce you to. I have my friend Brittney Carmichael here, and I actually was fortunate enough to meet Brittney live in person at Zion. We hiked Angel's Landing together. She gave a beautiful keynote speech about the 7 and above rule, which I hope she dips into today for you to learn about. And I'm going to let Brittney introduce and tell you all the magical things about her. She is a real life unicorn, and if you ordered a Zensetter box, you probably received one of her Shine from the Inside Oracle cards that she designed. So let me introduce you to my friend, Brittney Carmichael. Welcome to the Zensetter podcast, Brittney. Introduce yourself to the viewers and listeners.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. This is seriously a dream come true. Before I introduce myself, I can't even contain myself. I have to just say, congratulations. The fact that I'm sitting here on your podcast is proof that dreams do come true, because I remember when we had our first tarot call and I was like, your voice, you need a podcast. You need something. People need to listen to you. So I just want to, before we even dive into all that, I just want to say, hell yes, sister. Like, I am so proud of you.
I know, I just want to go back in time. So Brittney and I are friends way back in 2019. I am a proud member of the Shine from the Inside. It's called Shine from the Inside, correct?
The Shine Tribe.
The Shine Tribe. And then I purchased her Shine from the Inside Oracle cards. And then I'm still an active member in the Elevated Club. And Brittney read my cards and she told me that I was meant to have a podcast. And she helped me with some limiting beliefs. And now it's here. So thank you for being a Zensetter.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm just so proud of you. It feels just so cool, full circle, to come around and experience this and to be a part of it. So I'll introduce myself. I'm a card slinging unicorn, of course, who helps empower women to shine from the inside. I'm all about helping women break free of the fear that stops them from shining their light, from going after their big dreams and goals. And I do that through one-on-one coaching and my goddess retreat. So it's just, I still am behind the chair. I've been a luxury salon owner for 15 years of OMG hairstyles, and all of that work with women, empowering them to look beautiful on the outside, led me to then realize that people don't see their beauty if they are talking shit about themselves on the inside. And so my mission then began to create beautiful hair and beautiful hearts. And that's what's led me to where I'm at now, just empowering people from the inside.
That was one of my favorite modules in the Shine from the Inside or the Shine Tribe.
Because Shine School. Oh, Shine School. That's what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. You taught me to shine in so many ways, right?
I know, right? It's all about the sparkle.
It's all about the twilight sparkle. You have it. You have that magic. You teach how to become friends with your inner mean girl. And I have never heard that. And I love the movie Mean Girls, that now I look at that in a positive way versus beating myself up. And I'm like, whoa, is that my thought? And that's like in Zion, that was my biggest, the trending thing in my head was thoughts. And what are my thoughts? How are my thoughts helping me? Is it helpful? Is it a 7 or above? And that was magical. So in Zion, you gave this amazing speech, and I felt so rude because I heard on your podcast and I was like, oh, I'm glad. But I have a sticker on the back of my phone, and I'm going to show you. And it says the 7 or above. And this is something that you and your husband teach. So break down what the 7 or above is.
Absolutely. So it was just so crazy. And again, thank you for being that beautiful divine mirror and that little messenger to be like, hey, don't forget, like, here's a simple technique. It's so interesting because we always think we need the whole plan, right? We think we need to know step 100 before we even take step 1. And it's so interesting because when you came up to me and showed me that sticker, it was just a reminder, like, these simple concepts that create radical transformation are ultimately what are going to make the biggest difference. I mean, we can give you all the cool tools to enlightenment and talking to dead people and developing your psychic abilities. Like, that's great and all, but like, if you're not living in alignment with what you love and you don't even know how to decipher that, then there's going to be a disconnect. And so ultimately the 7 or above is a practical tool to be able to assess everything in your life, literally every action that you take in your life, and to get clear on, am I doing this out of obligation or am I doing it out of desire? So the simple 7 or above rule is on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being awful and 10 being amazing. You have the choice. This is your power. This is your freedom. You have the choice to live a 7 or above life. So if somebody invites you to something and you ask yourself, how bad do I really want to go? And it's an absolute 2, then you know, if you say yes, it is out of obligation or fear or any other thing that it doesn't feel good, you know. But if it's a 7 or above, then it's a hell yes. And you have this full body. It's like a great way for analytical thinkers and emotional feelers to use the same tool to be able to encompass both sides of yourself, because we have feelings and then we have our brain and how we think and the thoughts that we have and the belief systems that we operate from. So it gives a full body tool to be able to encompass your truth.
Yeah. So what made you come up with this? So this is a great story. Chris asked you to do something.
Yeah. So Chris had said, we were getting ready for Easter one day, and Chris had said, hey, babe, how bad do you really want to go to this Easter gig? And I was like, oh, like, he goes, if it was a scale of 1 to 10, like, how bad would you want to go? I was like, oh, 5. No, I don't want to go. I really don't want to get out of my PJs today. And he was like, well, that's it. Like, we shouldn't be doing anything less than a 7. And I'm like, whoa, just like, wait a minute. I have the choice. Like, I have power. I can decide. And that was it for me. So 7 or above rule was born many Easters ago, but ultimately started to, take over every action, every opportunity, every relationship, every thought. We started to apply, like, is this a 7 or above? Does this feel good? And we started to find that there were a lot of things out of alignment with what really felt good for us. And what once was a 7 is no longer a 7. And what once used, and vice versa. Like, if it wasn't a 7 before, maybe now it is. And that's the cool part about life, is that we're constantly changing. But if we have this tool to be able to constantly check in, like, if you ask me on my PMS week and you ask me on my, my shining week, like, 2 different answers. I guarantee it. I guarantee it.
Got to catch you in your right moon cycle, right? Correct. Your new moon versus your full moon, maybe.
There you go.
So you are a speaker. You also work with your husband, which I think is so cool. Because I incorporate the tools that you teach me. I was fortunate enough to work with both of you. So who started the woo-woo first, would you say? You or Chris?
Yeah, me, hands down. Like, Chris was like, have fun, enjoy that journey, babe. And I just was sucked down this rabbit hole of angel numbers and intuition and spirit guides and tarot cards. And Chris was going down the like science path of mind and psychology and hypnosis and things that could be measured, like the scientific route. And what we found is that the spiritual and the science actually are saying the same thing in a different language. And we started sharing our insights and the things that we would find. And I'd be like, look, can you believe this number means this thing? And it keeps showing up. Like, I know you see that 777 over there, and I would just share with him. And I think that ultimately open and honest communication about the things that we're interested in, even if we don't care. Like Chris loves video games and I don't care at all. Like Mario, yes. Like old school Sonic, yes. But like these games now with like 800 buttons, like I'm dyslexic, so I play inverted, which Chris thinks I'm weird. I'm like, no, now you've got me pressing no. But do I listen to him tell me about his new game and what new level he unlocked? Because yes, that inner child that he loves it so much. Like, why wouldn't I listen? And he's done the same courtesy for me, is listen to my crazy curiosities about, I think there are dead people talking to me. I don't know what's happening and I need you to help, like, something. And what we kind of, when we finally came full circle and we merged together, I had this near-death experience right after my mom had had a stroke. So it was like wake up call after wake up call. And finally I was like, I got to go see a psychic. And she blew my mind. She said, honey, are you intuitive? Yes, it told me to come here. Like, I don't know what's happening to me. And I was so blown away that I took Chris right away. I was like, you need to come meet this lady. And now, so she sits down with him and looks at him and goes, you need to get back into hypnosis. And what's interesting is on one of our first dates, he asked to hypnotize me. And so it was like, okay, well, how the hell did she know that? That's weird. He got into it when he was 17, trying to help his mom overcome alcohol addiction. And so he kind of like just let it go, disappeared, didn't really talk about it. And then when she said, you need to get back into hypnosis, specifically past life regression, kind of opened this like middle door between us, like past life regression. That sounds kind of woo-woo-y. Like, what is that? And so we had never really heard about past lives at that time, but we were just at that point of getting curious enough to ask questions and be open to receive new information. And the guy that he was studying hypnosis with at the time was very well known for metaphysical hypnosis. And that's when our worlds collided. I was like, wait, you can use hypnosis, of course, to heal your traumas and PTSD and anxiety and confidence and success and all those things, but you can also use it to develop your psychic abilities and talk to spirit guides and clear your chakras and all the things. I'm like, okay, I'll be your guinea pig. So that's where our worlds collided. And we brought, his practical, whatever, and my woo-woo, whatever. And we kind of combined together, and we'd always known we were meant to work together. The first day we met, he was like, okay, I'll go to beauty school. Okay, you'll do real estate. Like, we were trying to do each other's passions, but it just never clicked. And then eventually, through enough trauma in our lives, before we met, while we met, and overcoming and healing all of that ultimately led us to the career that now is the elevated life. Like, how can we teach the healing modalities that we're using in our own personal life, and they're changing our lives? And now we're starting to tell our friends and our family, because they're like, what are you doing? Holy shit, what's happening to you? Like, whoa, like, you're nice now. Like, what has happened? Like, like people just started asking questions and taking notice of the transformations that were happening within our own life. And that ultimately led us to, oh, well, I think we're onto something. Maybe we should share this with other people. And that's how the elevated life was born.
It's amazing. I think it's so important how you're talking about trauma. Thank you for sharing that. It doesn't sit well with people. They rather say that somebody's an alcoholic versus they're coping with alcoholism.
Right.
And would you say that Chris's mom had some trauma, obviously, that led her to that type of escaping?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So why doesn't it sit well with people to say, I am dealing with something, I'm going through trauma? Why is it so hard for us to break down these walls and just share and get to the root?
Yeah, I feel like, because somebody asked me something very similar to this recently, so I'm going to share the same answer. And I think it's because we would then have to admit that we are not perfect. And I really feel like that's where we get stuck, is like, I was thinking about my dad passing and like all the unforgiveness and the anger he still was like harboring. And I thought, why did he hold on for so long to something that was so toxic? And it just, because then his ego would have to surrender and submit to, okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I could have done something different. Maybe I need to change instead of being the victim and blaming everyone else.
Yeah, and he was so lucky to have you. And Brittney's such a strong person. For those of you that don't follow her or know her story, her father just passed away, and she literally is so strong and shared that journey with us. And I'm so grateful to have you. And you talk about it freely on your podcast. You talk about going through it before, during, and after, and that took incredible strength. So thank you for being that light to people. That's where you're that magical unicorn.
Oh man, I feel like the universe is like, oh yeah, you really want to teach this? All right, let's see if you can embody it in action. And I really feel like looking back over this last year, like I took a step back from, leading and all of this and producing and creating, even though if you look back on paper, like I've created more than I probably ever have, but it was like in my own time and in my own way. And I just feel like adapting to what your needs are. And life happens. When we were in Zion, I actually had a dream about my dad, like a lucid dream. Did I tell you this at all?
No.
So the first night, just recently we taught about dreams inside the Elevated Life Club, if you'll remember. And the more you talk about it and the more intention you put behind having lucid dreams, like the more they start to happen for you. Well, I kid you not, Sophia, ever since we did that masterclass, Chris and I, our dreams have been off the charts. Like it's been out of control, lucid dreams about so many things. And it was like back to back to back while I was in Zion. I feel like no internet, no Wi-Fi, no like shit interfering with our connection. We're in nature. It was going crazy. My dreams were going crazy. And on the first night, if you remember from the training, you only remember the dreams you wake up from, right? Mm-hmm. Well, sweet Rebecca Taylor wakes up at 6:30 in the morning, and I had just fallen asleep because it was first I had never slept without Chris in the bed. And like, it's my first night alone, it was hot. It was all the things, So I finally fall asleep, and I usually never have an issue with that. I finally fall asleep, and I start having this dream of my dad, and I'm in the back seat of a truck, and he's next to me, and his nephew is driving the truck, which I hadn't seen his nephew, or, we're not super close. And he's telling me about all these rules. You can't do this. And now that he's gone, all this is going to change. And it kept making me feel like I can't be myself. Like I'm not free to be myself. And I was crying to Dad, I don't want this. I don't want this. Boom, her alarm goes off. I wake up. I literally am physically crying. And I'm like, what just happened? When I got back from Zion, I called Mom to tell her like, hey, Dad showed up in a dream. Cause like when people pass, we're all like, let's share, the stories, all the things. And so I tell her, and she looks at me like she just seen a ghost. I was like, what, Mom? She goes, David just had a heart attack this week. I'm like, what? So I'm still even trying to decipher like what all just unfolded, but it's just, it's so crazy how talking about my journey. This probably, I hope somebody took something away from that. I don't even know why I'm sharing. I think just personal friendship, I feel drawn to tell you about this, but it was very interesting. Like just how they show up in your dreams and, even the healing that I'm doing. We did forgiveness in the Elevated Life Club and,
your favorite F word.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a whole module in Shine School, but I'm like doing bicep curls in the gym and crying about my dad. Like, okay, well, layers of healing just happen at the most unexpected times, especially if you start to initiate or evoke that, the healing.
Yeah, because you have a lot of practices that really you help people heal. You are a guru healer. How would you call yourself?
They're just labels, and I don't really subscribe to any of them besides but I can identify with healer. Like I just help transform the darkness into the light, helping you to accept it and knowing that it'll still be there, but we can use it in a way that is, of higher benefit to us all, including yourself and others. Healer. Absolutely. I didn't even realize that for so long, that just us being in each other's presence has such a healing balm. And when you're aware of it and the more intention that you put into the present, I think the more powerful and effective it is. So it's not just like, I'm the special healer. Like we all have that capacity to open our heart, but I just choose to do it freely and fully.
Yes. And you have that gift to make people freely trust you. You feel safe. When we hiked Zion, I was so afraid. When we showed up at Angel's Landing, I wanted to quit. And I was like, my limiting belief, my inner mean girl was telling me, you can't do this. You shouldn't be here. All the things, future casting. And then I looked up and you and Chris were there. And I talked about this on my podcast in episode 11. And I was just like, I was so thankful that the universe aligned me there to know that I was safe. And then when we got to the top, I just like opened my heart because I just couldn't even control my throat chakra. It was just like, it just like came out, and it like a weight. I was so proud of myself. Like I've never been that proud of myself that I set out for something. I felt prepared for it and I did it. And you were there. And I love the picture that we have that has the bird like flying over our head if you hold it in. And like, what did you think when you hiked that?
Oh man, I thought, holy shit, that's what I thought. But I knew that we were going to make it to the top. There was no doubt in my mind. I love to hike. So, and it's funny because I had just fallen off a mountain in Aspen in October when we went hiking for our wedding anniversary. And when we started the hike, even Chris said to me, he's like, babe, I don't know, like, this is crazy. And I was like, no, it's going to be fine. Like, I'm always the like, fuck it, let's just go. Like, let's bungee jump. I don't care, which is interesting. I don't know. Growing up in the country, I'm just wild. Okay. I'm just a wild beast. But Chris was like kind of freaking out. He's like, babe, this is insane. We're going to hike up to the top of that. Like, babe, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, what's your deal, babe? Like, who are you right now? Like, what's wrong with you? He's like, you didn't watch you fall off the mountain. I was like, no, but I'm the one that actually fell off the mountain and I'm not even afraid. So let's fucking go, But I will say that when we got back from the whole trip, Chris's favorite part was us sitting at the top of that mountain and you just sharing your heart and soul with us, telling us your story. Oh. I mean, literally, it is one of the top moments for the whole experience, just to be able to like witness you. And like, you are super bionic, badass woman. And like, I am just honored and blessed to know somebody as strong and as loving as you are. And I feel like that's ultimately when we talk about all of this healing and trauma and all of this, like what we're really trying to get the point across is that we've all been through painful shit. And the more I host women's circles and the more I host these retreats and work one-on-one intimately with women's souls, is like, we've all been fucked hard, really hard. Life has dealt some crazy shit. And if you're a life path 11 like me, you've gotten it extra. Okay. But what I can tell you is that all of it was for your growth. All of it was to make you more of this bionic, badass woman that you claimed yourself to be. And hearing your story, I'm like, yep, no, there's no doubt about it. And that's so true for all of us. But we shy away from the painful parts of our past, like we're ashamed. But the truth is, they're all there to make you feel empowered, and you can choose to shift that or reframe that into your greatest strengths. Like, some of your greatest failures are really some of what we deem in our mind as a failure are some of our most memorable things, like the biggest marks that we make on the world, So had I not been abused, had I not gone through different parental shit, like had I not gone through that, I wouldn't be able to stand here and say, I understand, which is the first step of healing, is knowing that you're not alone. And I've been there, but I overcame it, and you can too. And every person that I've met along my healing journey that suffered similar to me, but I see that they're on the other side, has given me hope. And I feel like hope is really where the healing happens, is like that. It's like the crack that lets the light in, Yeah.
That's awesome. And it was so beautiful to see you sharing your heart and healing everybody in Zion with your cards. When did you know that you were going to draw and design those oracle cards?
Oh, I don't know. That's a great question. I do remember in 2017, I was standing in a witch's shop in Iceland, where my grandmother's from. And there was this whole wall of all these decks. And I just thought, I'm going to have a deck here one day. Like, there was just this overwhelming, like, I know, because it was a tool that I was using in my life since 2012. And it was like every day, it's one thing I won't skip. It kind of became like my go-to spiritual tool to develop my intuition. And so I really, in the beginning, I had no intention of even reading for other people, let alone turning it into like a profession. Like, like, no way. But it just blew my mind at how insightful they were and how accurate in developing and trusting my intuition it was, that I started sharing with my clients in the salon. And I'd do some readings while they were processing, and they'd be like, holy shit, how do you know all this? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I just know what the meanings of the cards are. And there's a set number of 78 meanings that we all experience. We can all identify, there's only so many emotions we go through as a human. You know what I mean? Like anger, sadness, happy, fear, love. There's like everything else is a stem. Like all the other emotions kind of stem from these like main core experiences. And that's what I started to realize, is that we're all going through the same experience emotionally, but it shows up in a different, unique character situation, like your own movie, if you will. And so, I think that moment in Iceland was kind of like the seed of like, I really want to have a deck here. And then the inspiration behind where did it come from was all of the lessons that I had taken, that I had taught in Shine School. I thought this should be a part of a daily ritual system, because I realized that even women going through the program, even women with all this knowledge and understanding, if they're not showing up consistently and making it a part of their daily practice, then all that wisdom goes out the window. Like it's knowing to relax and relaxing are two different things. And so I started asking myself, well, what's something else I could create that would help to create that consistency? And for me, I asked myself, what am I most consistent with in my life, period? And it was reading cards, which sounds kind of crazy, but that's just what it was for me. And so I thought, well, then I'm going to make a set of cards that will help to inspire people to take action daily. And so I wanted to make an oracle deck that wasn't so scary, and it was really pretty and sparkly, so that people would be like, ooh, rainbows. What is this? And so it wouldn't be intimidating, because I know the more I talk about tarot, it's gotten so normal now, like even Vogue talks about it. So it's not so underground, but 2012, like, don't tell people that you're into witchy things. It's weird. But now there's a whole witch talk movement. Like, come on, so it's really cool to see how our conversations are shifting. The more conscious we become, the more we can update the conversations that we're having. It's not antiquated and like talking about old shit in the past. In the past, Chris would not tell people hypnosis. He would tell them guided meditation. Like, you guys are not ready for this word. You know what I mean? Same with psychic. So when you said label, like when you were like, what do you identify? I was like, whatever the fuck you want. Like whatever. Whatever makes you feel comfortable. Like, even it's funny because on the deck creation, someone recommended to me, like professionally, that I shouldn't put under my about me bio that I'm 99% unicorn. They're like, that's not very professional. I'm like, have you looked at the fucking deck? Like, this is about magic and power and reclaiming that sparkle magic, like your inner unicorn. Like, give me a break. So it's so funny, because there are things that I just absolutely won't bend on. And that was one of them. So if I guess if I'm going to subscribe to a label, 99% unicorn.
I love that. That's the best label ever. And you wear it well.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And I love your deck. So I would always draw somebody their card, and then I would sign the back of it, Love and Light, Sophia. And everybody that ordered one got it. If you ever made a purchase at my salon, it was in there. And now I have to order more decks.
Yes.
And I would really love to touch base on this, because I don't think people realize, and I want them to really support you. So Brittney is the creator of her deck, and she'll tell you where to purchase it. Recently, you made it when somebody bootlegs you. And if that's not telling you right now, like, dang, I made it because I am being bootlegged. Gosh, I'm so sorry that happened to you, but share that experience with us.
Yeah, no problem. It's kind of crazy. Like, people are printing fake knockoffs of my deck. And a lot of people have been reporting it through Instagram. And I recently came across a photo of like someone tagged me, Shine from the Inside, and the images of the deck were not correct. I'm like, wait a minute, like we don't have borders around the deck. And I asked her, I said, can you send me a video of the deck that you got? And it was atrocious. It was so bad. And, I'm just glad that the people that are knocking it off are making it so bad that it's obvious, even though some of them didn't even realize that was a fake deck. So, how do I feel about it today? Like in this moment, there's nothing I can do,
Right.
Like Did I have like the moment of what the fuck? Absolutely. And it quickly went into, well, what can I do? And I talked to a lawyer, and basically the gist was, you can go to court and fight and pay all this money and you have the copyright. It is illegal. But if they're in a different country, which they are, then they don't have, like, even if you win the settlement, they don't even have to pay you. They're not like legally binded to like follow through on the, like, you have to pay this. So I feel like in the long run, it would cost me a lot more time, money, headaches, and frustration dealing with the bullshit that, for me, I just kind of like, I think, you kind of shared my reframe, was like, I guess I made it. Like, shit, like people are already knocking me off. Like, that's cool. And it must be good enough to make an impact in the world to be knocked off. So, am I mad? Not really. Like, is it lame? Absolutely. But I guess if it means that that message is getting spread across, even in a jankier way, then right, at least somebody has something to be able to like tap into their soul. So I find it kind of interesting, annoying, funny.
It's happening a lot more because you are very creative and unique, and people don't have that. They're much more in the sheep mode that they just want to follow. I mean, you get it with when you create content, you make something and then somebody else 2 minutes later makes it. Like, I struggle with that myself, and I'm like, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to inspire. I'm here to be that liquid sunshine for everybody, to like shine bright and share my light. Like, power stands power,
This does remind me of when I started beauty school. I really would like to share, and this just shows the progression of like acceptance and not letting emotions get the best of you. When I started beauty school, I had pink hair, and I had the girls like braid down the sides and like create this cool mohawk, and we curled the whole top, and it was like crazy looking. And this is like, I don't know, 2006, this is like when being weird is weird. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't cool to be weird yet. And the next day, one of the girls at school had done the same hairstyle. She like braided her sides down and like curled her mohawk. And I was so fucking mad. I was like, that was my idea. I did that. And the teacher's like, you're a trendsetter. If you're going to be a leader, people are going to copy you. And so I think that's ultimately, like, I've been that person since I was born, like beating to my own drum, inspiring the neighborhood kids to like, do my little creative ideas on how we're going to take over the world. I've just like always been that person. And I went in a really dark place for a really long time because of that comparison, or what, why am I not like you? Or why do I not want, like, that whole story. Yes. And then I just came to the conclusion that if I'm going to be a leader and people are going to copy me, which I wrote down on a little wish piece of paper many years ago, that I wish to be an inspirational leader, then I have to provide an example of what I would be comfortable with them copying. And that is being creative, being authentic, expressing yourself, doing what you love, and being free of the fear of other people's like judgments and criticisms. And so when I see people like, I don't know, dyeing their hair pink, that's like never had it before, and I'm like, girl, I know you were inspired by that. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I celebrate that. I'm like, oh, good. I gave them permission to find more of their authentic truth and their light. And so getting frustrated back in beauty school, I wasn't in acceptance that I was a trendsetter, a zensetter, a leader. You know what I mean? And now I am in acceptance of that. So it makes it a lot easier to go, oh, okay, good. You took that inspiration and made it into your own. That's great. Except for when they make the deck really ugly, I'm just kind of like offended, honestly. Like, you're going to pass that off? Like, come on.
I didn't realize they actually made the deck. I thought they were trying to sell it, like, because I bought a deck, and before you post, and I do decks every day myself. And that's why I was drawn to you and creating it. I loved watching you create it and share the prototype as you were on the journey. And now I'm really aware of where I'm buying things from. I'm making sure that it's from the originator and stuff, because that's what I love about you. I love originality and creativity and your heart, and you are just a positive light to so many. So you have a retreat coming up, and I just want to end on this. Tell people about your couples retreat. I cannot wait to attend one in 2022. It's happening.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait for you and Pat to come along. I think it's going to be incredible. This was born because the universe was mirroring back to me what my next step was. Everyone always asks, like, how do I get clarity? Because clarity is that confidence to be able to move forward, right? So how do I get clarity? Well, fucking listen. And that's what happened at the hair love retreat. I asked the universe, what am I meant to teach? What can I teach the hairdressers right now that is going to help them in this moment? And you showed up with that phone and said, look, 7 or above. I listened. And you know what else I listened to? All the women that met me and Chris at not just hair love retreat, but even the goddess retreats that I host. They kept coming up to Chris and being like, wow, I really wish my husband could get this kind of healing and transformation, this kind of experience. And so I was listening to the feedback, and all the women coming to my retreats were like, I'm up leveling so fast and I'm leaving my partner behind. And he's curious. He wants to grow. He wants to learn some of this stuff. Like, can you please create a couples retreat? And so it's been like seeds being planted over the last year after doing the goddess retreats and then going to hair love and meeting all you beautiful souls. Like, the conversation was, holy shit, you guys like work really well together. How are you doing this? And it just became very clear that we knew we wanted to do it earlier this year, but with my dad dying, I needed to put all my creative projects off to the side so that I could really focus on myself and what was important to me. And coming back full circle, my creativity is back. I've made it through the rough patches. And the first thing on our list was couples retreat. Like, that's where our passion is. We love going in person with people because we find that coming together in person really facilitates a sacred space of healing that happens at a very rapid pace. Would you agree that you probably progressed 10 times the amount by going to hair love than you would if you were just like on Zoom calls for the next 6 months? Like, would you agree with that?
Yes, because I learned going outside of my comfort zone and not being in control and, just going with the flow. I mean, for me, it was very difficult. I like to be in control. Like, from my life, I'm fight, flight, or freed all the time. So I am the last to ask for help. That's why I love your card. Asking for help doesn't make you weak, because the sooner we ask for help, the less chaos we create. When we try to fix things on our own by not asking for help, there's a lot more issues along the way when we could have just got to a communication problem a lot faster, I'm sure. So for me, I like never asked for help. I didn't even know that we could have asked for cell phone service. I just suffered, and just didn't ask. But these are things that I need to learn about myself, because, like I said, they're not happening to me, they're happening for me. And I'm just learning along the way. I wish you were coming. I have one more retreat and it's on my heart. I would love to host my own retreat. Since coming back from Zion, I feel that I'm so much more than a hairdresser. And I just, like you, don't know what label to fall under other than sunshine. You're a unicorn.
I love that. I love that. I've like rewritten my About Me page like 800 times, just trying to embody. And that's the thing. It's like, it's always changing. And, it's like good to know the direction you're going, but do we have to label it? I don't know. Not necessarily. Like, we can get it in the ballpark. Right. But ultimately the couples retreat, you talked about communication, and that's it. Is like the 3 topics that we're going to be covering at the Evolved Couples Retreat is healing the past, because we bring a lot of baggage into the present and it's hard to be present, right? It's hard to connect. And it's hard to connect because we don't have the tools to communicate or to get intimate. It doesn't just mean like 4 more minutes of foreplay. It starts with the dishes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we wanted to create tools and little hacks like the 7 or above rule to be able to create better communication, to understand that it's, like, their crazy isn't necessarily always projected onto you, even though you're in the same room. Like, there's things that we've had to learn in the cycles of my moon time, how Chris doesn't need to take things personally during that. Like just little tips and tricks like that. But ultimately, this retreat is about healing the past, creating a beautiful present with connection, actually being present, no phones, no drama, no email, no work, like actually getting into the sacred bubble of the present moment for the healing, and then creating a future together. What we realize that so many couples struggle with, and maybe they don't have past baggage that's bothering them, but they don't have a proper plan to be able to execute your individual goals and your personal goals together, and how to hold support and accountability for each other within the relationship without sounding like nagging. You know what I mean? Like, you said you were going to quit smoking. Why? It's September 1st and you haven't done, like there's better ways to approach and to support your partner. And so we wanted to create an intimate, luxurious experience. So we picked, of course, Destin, Florida, because what better place to like have those romantic walks on the beach in the white sands of Destin. So Destin has like a special place in my heart for like ocean healing vibes. There's just something magical about Destin. And so we decided our first couples retreat was going to be in Destin. And that, ironically, that was where our first goddess retreat was too. I think there's just, mermaid vibes are calling. Like there's something about it. So the Evolved Couples Retreat for this year is going down in November, and it will be a 5-day transformational experience to reconnect with your partner. This isn't necessarily for couples in crisis. This is for couples that want to evolve their connection to a different level beyond just the everyday, like do the chores, take the kids to work, or take the kids to school and go to work kind of thing. This is about really creating a brighter and bigger future together. Because when you have two minds that have the same intention, or two hearts with the same intention, and you're both moving forward together on the same page, things get accomplished and manifested at a much faster rate. And we only have so much time, right? So let's enjoy it while we're here and make the most out of it. So the Evolved Couples Retreat, so excited about that, and plan to do more in the future. We kind of just threw it together last minute. We're like, holy shit, it's time. We're right. We've been planning it all year, but didn't pull the trigger. And when we pulled the trigger, we just kept the same dates that we had planned earlier this year. And then I realized, that's in 2 months. So that's good. Yeah, that's manifesting. When spirit wants you to move, you just move and act on it. So we're so excited to be throwing one down this year, and our goal for next year. Really, our goal is to host more retreats, goddess and couples, because that's where we have the most fun. That's where we see the most transformation and healing. And ultimately, it's community that makes you feel good. And so being with our community and being with our people in person, it's a game changer.
Hell yeah. I totally agree on that. So where can the community find you?
Yeah. So you can find me at BrittneyCarmichael.com. You'll be able to find all the things from the Shine from the Inside Oracle to Shine School, all the things that we've talked about, the elevated life. It's all on BrittneyCarmichael.com, or you can come hang out with me on the gram at The World by Britt. And I always love connecting with you guys in my DM. So be sure to shoot me a message if you're listening and let us know what you loved about it.
Yes. And can I ask one more favor? So at the end of the podcast, I always pull a card, but today I feel that you have to pull the card for us. So would you mind pulling a card?
Oh my God, absolutely. Yeah, let me grab my deck really quick.
Yes, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but I was like, I can't pull the card today with Britt with her beautiful deck. I need you to pull it, and we have to hear it in your lovely voice.
You got it, sister. Well, I am so excited. Okay, let's shuffle with the intention that our listeners get the message they most need at this time right now. Oh, did you see how fast that came out? I saw that. They need that. I barely even touched it. Oh my gosh. That's so crazy. So the card that comes up for the listeners today is such a fun one. It's practice feng shui and create a sacred space. What's interesting is, all of these cards are lessons from Shine School. And this is one of the very first lessons in the entire program. Because if you don't have that root chakra sacred space to come home to, feel grounded, feel supported, feel connected, feel safe, then it's going to be really hard to go inside where the scary stuff is. You know what I'm saying? So if we're going to do this kind of healing work and connect with our souls and create these sacred self-care rituals, then we have to have a space that feels good. Yesterday, there was junk all over the kitchen counter, and I'm trying to decorate for Halloween. So there's boxes, and Chris is just we were about to go on a walk or do something. He's like, wait, before we do, I can't even think straight. We just need to clean this place up. And I'm like, okay. So we tidied up, and then the energy was cleared. And what is so important about this message is that when our physical environment is cluttered, it's typically a reflection of a mental cluttered, mental clutter. And so it's really important for us to kind of start clearing out, detoxing, eliminating things that are like taking up space that aren't bringing us joy. So I would say your actionable step for this is to kind of like do an assessment of your physical environment, not only your body, but the home that you spend time in, and find a little place, a little nook where you can go and like light some candles or create a sense of sacredness so that you can show up to that spot every single day and, you know, reconnect and tune in with yourself.
So beautiful. Thank you for creating this safe, happy space. You open up so much space for me and always inspire me. I'm so glad to have you here, Britt. Thank you so much for your time. I would love to have you and Chris on an episode so we could go over meditation, hypnosis, and your yoga teacher training.
Oh my
I could
gosh.
talk forever.
Yes, that would be so incredible. I feel like we could like just have 19 conversations. That's what's going to happen in this hair world podcasting is we're all just going to be like, okay, let's talk again. Let's talk again. Let's talk again. Because it's just so fun to be able to share this wisdom. And I just want to thank you again. Like I started this conversation off with, thank you for creating this space to share, to be able to talk, to have these vulnerable conversations and to open up to talk more than just techniques and highlights and balayage and, you know, K18 and all the things, you know,
Right.
Let's talk about like how we feel. Let's talk about our dreams. Let's talk about the fears that are stopping us from being that bright, shining star that we came to be. And so I just want to thank you again for making the space and shining your light and being that liquid sunshine, because I swear the second I hear your voice or see your face, like everything in my body is just like, ah, it just brings me so much joy. So thank you for being that like light.
I feel the same way about you. I'm sending you a big hug. Thank you so much, Britt. And I'm going to wrap it up. And I like to say namaste and hairspray.